Go ahead and call this meeting to order. At this time, if you could all stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3 is going to be public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes and must be broad in nature. No action will be taken on public comment. Is there any public comment?
There we go. Commissioners, Clay Hendricks, I'm here today to put you on notice that I have here a 16-page, 9-count federal civil rights action filed that I'm going to file in 10 days if I don't have public records from the County Commission, the Attorney General's office. I'm ready to file it. There's probably $6,000 worth of legal work here, so it's detailed, it's complicated, and it sure seems like to me that the easiest thing to do is to get me a degree that Mr. Spross says that he had on his application, because that is definitely a matter of public record. And for Mr. Sanford to tell me that when the county gets the resources, it'll get around to it, to me, I'll let him tell a federal district court judge that, because I want to be there when that happens, because I want to see that argument, okay? But I have 10 days. You can redact, you can protective order. I'll make it as easy on you as you want, but I am not walking away. I told you that the first time I came in. I'm not leaving. So we'll get to the bottom of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to verification of the posting of the agenda, please.
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on July 10th between the hours of 3 and 5 at the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Thank you, Pam. This will be a revised agenda with the removal of 6A. Can I get a motion for this agenda as revised?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the agenda as as revised.
I'll second it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We'll go with that. So we'll skip 6A and we'll move to our first appointment, 7A, consideration and possible action, update on current activities, plans, or actions related to the Bureau of Land Management's Carson City District. And the floor is all yours.
Thanks. Mark Mazza, Assistant Field Manager, BLM.
Yeah, Zach Reichold, Field Manager for Stillwater Field Office in the Bureau of Land Management. All right, so the first item that we have to discuss is with the National Defense Authorization Act and the Sand Canyon Road realignment. We received a request from the previous county manager to provide him with, we have a modified plan of action, course of action, and we received a request to put that, our rationale for why we have the new authorities. We've been looking at certain authorities that would allow us to move forward in the spirit of the legislation, not the spirit, but in compliance with the legislation. And so we are finishing up that document this week, and we will have all the CFRs and all the regulations that we're using to base our decision on, and present that to, I believe now, Chris Spross will present that to you hopefully either by Friday or early next week. So we'll have that to you so that you can have that reviewed, and if you agree with that course of action, or if there is agreement on the course of action, then we'll provide draft documents with the language that pertaining to that. So that would be the next step. BLM is currently, we have a final grazing decision on the B16, the allotments, the grazing allotments within the B16, Navy B16 lands. We are just tightening up the administrative record, but I hopefully will sign that sometime soon, hopefully at least by the end of the month is what we're shooting for. So just a couple more weeks on that. We're working on an interagency agreement for the land exchanges under 209. We did, I believe we did brief the state director for BLM, John Raby, on our proposed action with both 2907 and 2908. We have concurrence with the checkerboard resolution under 2908, and we'll be sharing that plan for the county's review on the proposed path forward on that. So we just needed to get the state director's approval before we came and presented it to the county for their consideration. And then their input on how they would like to see us implement that. We're prioritizing work on the affected B16 ranges right now as far as getting land health assessment data, utilization data, and things like that for when we eventually go out for the permanent grazing decision or the final grazing decision on that allotment. And then we'll be following up on B17 and B20 ranges and those allotments in conjunction with our Winnemucca District Office. So there you see, that's just, I already went over that. I guess I got ahead of myself with the checkerboard resolution implementation strategy. That's the one that we briefed to the state director. And so we're ready, we have that concurrence. We'll be presenting that to you for your consideration and input. State Route 361, no update on that. We're a cooperating agency with Federal Highways Authority and NDOT conducting baseline surveys for the environmental work on that. Great Basin pipeline relocation. We tightened up the real estate file on that. There were some discrepancies that we needed to get answers to with that file. We've got it cleaned up and we have all the answers. And so we should be able to move forward. They're doing the baselines for the environmental on that, and then we should be able to move forward with that project. Again, we are not the lead agency on that. It is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission I believe is the lead on that.
Okay, regarding Wild Horse and Burro updates, the big update is our Lahontan and Herd Gather EA. We're expecting to sign that this Friday. There was a preliminary EA earlier that you should have all received that was available for comment. And so, yeah, this Friday we're trying to decide the final decision for that. And as far as the census numbers, we're still waiting on our statistically corrected numbers to come back so we can get our better herd estimates for some of the different herds that we flew this year in our census flights. And regarding the geothermal project, so for Dixie Meadows, there's not really any updates there. We've determined the baseline needs requirements for analysis, shared those with the proponent, and we're working together on the different permitting that would be required for instrumentation of things like wells or installing features that would collect the monitoring for those baselines. For Diamond Flat, so that project is actually complete now. So that was complete last month under emergency permitting authorities. And so we were working through that traditionally under NEPA as described there. And I sent over another slide, which we can get to you next time, which is about the approvals that were completed under emergency permitting.
Yeah, just one more thing to add, Mark, is that the Dixie Meadows project was submitted for emergency permitting through the emergency permitting under the national emergency that was declared by executive order. We are still in the process of those decisions are made at a much higher level, at the secretary's level, and so it's been submitted and is still being considered for the emergency permitting under the permitting process. So we treat these as though they are normal and just go through the same process until we receive word from the secretary's office that it has been approved for emergency procedures and that it can be expedited using those procedures that have been identified.
Thanks. Okay, regarding the geothermal lease sale EA, so there's a scheduled sale in October. There's parcels identified, kind of 3 distinct parcels in different lumpings in our district, including 2 that I'll talk about on the next slide here. The preliminary EA is out. You should have received a letter for that for comment and review. And then I'll go to the 2 slides that we wanted to discuss, which we discussed last month too, but for a recap of where they're at. This parcel 2179, so that fell within this special management area that was under the NDAA legislation, which is to be managed with co-stewardship. So we didn't yet have a plan for that, so that was a deferred under this sale. But we did meet with Walker River Paiute Tribe on the co-stewardship plan last week to do a kickoff on what that plan would look like. And then on this other parcel, the 2171, a portion of that parcel was removed, and it's removed from the map on the previous slide too. But that parcel was removed because it fell within the conveyance areas under NDAA as well. And so we wouldn't want to move forward with the sale knowing that those lands could be transferred.
No real update with the minerals projects from last month, with the exception of with Cosmo Dixie Exploration. We did receive a draft plan of operations for that, and it has been reviewed. Comments have been sent back to the proponent for them to address and then resubmit. And so we're just waiting for that. And as you see, there were 2 notices issued for drill pads in that area.
Okay, special recreation permits. So they just completed the road repair for the Legacy Baja race. The next big OHV race on our district is the Best in the Desert. It goes through a few different districts in BLM, but that's going to be August 13th to the 16th, or better known as Vegas to Reno. For Sand Mountain, it's still busy out there. We don't have any big event weekends planned. They're kind of more in the fall, October and September become bigger again. It's a little bit of a downtime there, but they still do have a lot of traffic, still pretty busy out there.
For Lands and Realty, Greenlink North, you can see that there's not been much we can do with that right now. The final EIS is expected to be published in April, with a record of decision expected to be published sometime in July 2025, so sometime here very soon. I think that they're wrapping up the protest period and getting the report back from headquarters on how we addressed some of the comments in the protests that we received under that. Edwards Creek, War Canyon right-of-way EA, we did receive an application for a right-of-way for some irrigation pipes to be placed in that area. We reviewed the application and found some discrepancies and some deficiencies in the project description. We went back to the project proponent and requested additional information so that we can come up with all the appropriate baseline needs assessments. So all of the environmental and cultural clearances that we have to get in order to allow that to move forward and go into the NEPA process with an environmental assessment. And with that, that concludes our presentation. And if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Thank you, guys. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Okay, thank you for your time. We'll move to 7B, consideration and possible action, approval of resolution 11-2025, providing the transfer of Churchill County's private activity bond volume cap to the Nevada Rural Housing Authority.
Wonderful, thank you. All right. Good afternoon, I believe. My name is Katie Coleman. I am the Communications Director with Nevada Rural Housing. And thank you to the Commission. I am appreciative of your time this afternoon to speak with you. I'm here to briefly expand upon the highlights that were included in our request for the transfer of your entity's unused private activity bond cap. Just really briefly, for more than 50 years now, Nevada Rural Housing has evolved into really a full spectrum housing finance agency. We are really committed to meeting the needs of rural Nevadans through homeownership, rental assistance, housing development, and I'm really going to be focusing on the homeownership programs piece of what we do today. And to date, the impact of our homeownership programs has been pretty deep. We've served over 11,000 homebuyers since 2006. That's when we kicked off our homeownership programs, and that is to the tune of $2.5 billion in mortgage lending and $47 million in homebuyer tax savings. And really, the success of our programs has been driven by collaboration, and this commission support has really been key to that success. This community's been really a longstanding contributor to the success of our programs through the transfer of that unused bond cap. These transfers allow us to create real, lasting housing opportunities for the families in this community, and it's without affecting your local budget. So as a reminder, bond cap is not money. It's a federal allocation that enables entities like ours, Nevada Rural Housing, to issue tax-exempt bonds to qualified housing initiatives. And one of the most exciting outcomes of your recent support is our Launchpad homeownership program. So I think I was here last year talking about Launchpad. We were just launching it, no pun intended, last June, and this program really was made possible by the bond cap transfer. It initially provided $25 million in mortgage funds to around 80 families, and that program was very successful. We got that out the door, and because of the success and our partnership with the Nevada Housing Division, we now have another $25 million in circulation right now. For Launchpad 2.0 is what we're calling it. So there's another $25 million in mortgages available to folks in your community and those throughout rural Nevada ready to go. And that really is offering more opportunity to rural home buyers. Now, since June of last year, in your community specifically, our rural home ownership programs have assisted 5 home buyers, providing $1.6 million in mortgages. And our outreach really goes beyond program delivery. We work directly with lenders and agents across the state, in your community as well. We offer continuous training, support, homeowner education. We invest in advertising, social, digital marketing, really wanting to ensure our residents, our rural residents, know what's available. We're placing radio advertising right here in Churchill County, KVLV. We're on Channel 4, which has frequency and reach out here. We are streaming. We're on Disney Plus. Not sure if you've seen that as of late. We're on Google. We're placing advertising all over the internet. And we're also going to be I'm also going to be leaving behind some materials custom for your community. Stickers, cool rural rocks thing. That's our campaign right now. I'll make sure I leave it with the folks up at the front before I head out, because we really want we'd ask for your help in sharing the message. That's how we get our messages out to your community. You know your folks best. Please help us spread the message about this program. It really works. It's worked for the last almost 20 years, and you know your community's best. So if you can help us help them, I sure would appreciate it, and I sure appreciate your ongoing support of these programs. I'm happy to help answer any additional questions, and thank you for taking this request today.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? Okay, I did have one question for you, Joe. On this resolution, there's a couple things that need to be edited inside of it. Can we approve it and then just edit it as we see fit?
If you just make your motion to identify what particular edits you wanted to see,
Okay.
then we can go and make those edits and submit it.
The only edit that I see is section 4. We'll have to update the county manager information from Jim Barbie to our new county manager, Chris Spross. And that's the only thing I see. And with that, is there any public comment? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt the resolution 11, 2025, providing for the transfer of Churchill County's private activity bond volume cap to Nevada Rural Housing, with edits in section 4 to update the name of the county manager to the current county manager.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, Matt, whenever you need to speak, you can just unmute yourself if you need, or if you have questions. Okay, with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, or do we already call for a vote?
You did?
I did. Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
2-0.
We'll jump to 7C, consideration of possible action, adoption of the 2025 update to the Carson River Floodplain Management Plan. Ed James, General Manager of Carson Subwater Conservancy District.
Good afternoon. Thank you. For the record, Ed James with the Carson Water Subconservancy District. And today I'm going to give you a presentation on the Carson River Floodplain Management Plan. It's an update for 2025. I'll give you a little background on it because I think when it was first brought forward to your board, you guys weren't here, so I wanted to give you a little update. Interesting, every picture you'll see in here that we have are flood pictures taken in this watershed. So it's just, again, to be aware of, it floods, even though if you walk out there today, you wouldn't think so, but it does flood in the Carson watershed. And this is a document to help as we prepare for those potential floods. This picture here is actually taken in Carson Valley. 395 is, well, in the lower left, it's actually being flooded. And there's a trailer park there. There were some people got their trailers out, but others did not. And there's these two houses that were elevated. So they didn't flood, but they couldn't get into their house because of the flooding. But this is also what we're looking for. This is a floodplain. And as we move forward, this is what we're trying to keep, especially in the upper watershed, keeping the floodplains open. So even though in 97 we had a huge flood that it caused several damages and inconvenience for people, the total damage in that area at that time was about 16 million on the Carson. But on the Truckee, which has a lot more upstream storage and everything else, it flooded downtown. Their damage was over 600 million. So again, by keeping floodplains open, we can reduce our flood impacts. So with that, what is the main purpose of this report is to reduce flood risks in the watershed. And that really is awareness. How can we reduce flood risks as we move forward? This house here is in Lyon County. It was actually our showcase, Are You Prepared? It flooded in, I don't actually think 97, but it was alluvial fan flooding. And then it flooded again, so I don't know if they were prepared or not, but it does happen, and this is something to be aware of, that flooding can occur anywhere in this watershed. And so the history of the purpose of this. So in 97, when we had that major flood, afterwards the community got together and had a big 2 workshops. How we want to deal with flooding in this watershed. Do we want to do engineering structures, or how do we want to move forward? And that time, the community got together and says, we need to look at an integrated process, not just dealing with flooding, but how does it deal with water quality, water supply, and move this whole process. And so Carson River Coalition was formed. This is just some of these entities. There's over 500 people on the email list. It's public, private entities that get together periodically. Brenda Hunt in our office is one who coordinates these groups and really just deals with, issues that we see on a watershed-wide basis. But they realized that we needed to start talking about the Carson River and how do we want to deal with it. Too often we get into what they call serial engineering, where you get a flood, then you engineer it to try to fix it, and then Mother Nature says you're not good enough, floods again, and we just constantly kind of go in this circle here. And so we really want to look more naturally and trying to work with our our entities as we move forward. So a little history on the plan. So the first plan it was adopted in 2008. We had several workshops prior to this, working with the communities up and down. And the 2008 really focused mostly on the river. What's happening with flooding up and down the river. And it was adopted by Alpine County, which is in California, but in the watershed, Douglas, Carson, Lyon, and Churchill County. And really kind of said, okay, how do we want to deal with Carson River flooding issues? In 2013, there was an update to it, but again, really focused mostly on flooding in the river. In 2018, we started saying, hey, wait a minute, we got to start looking at the alluvial fan flooding, flooding that comes down. And alluvial fans are basically in your areas outside the river itself, the mountain areas coming down, and would cause some instantaneous flooding. And so we updated it. We started looking at alluvial fans, and at that time, Story County adopted the plan because they don't have any river flooding down there in Story County, but there is a lot of alluvial fan impacts. And this is not a document that is a regulatory document. This is more of a guidance. So as you do your planning process down here, this gives you a kind of a regional approach of things you may want to consider as you start adopting your policies or ordinances to include or be aware of as you start dealing with flooding. These are just some of the pictures in 1907, major flooding it. Down here, there was quite a bit of flooding in the Fallon area, probably one of the bigger floods that came around, and so it did impact. Since the Lahontan's gone in, and also with your management of working with TCID and the Bureau of Reclamation, you guys have avoided some major flooding, especially in 2017 and 2023. So you were actually very active, your community is, to protect yourselves from flooding. And I give you hats off for that. Through the weir and everything else you guys have developed, you have actually protected your community. But flooding is something that happens all the time. And these are just a list of various dates, and we have major flooding. So you can see in 1862, which is 61, 62, it was so much precipitation, but there wasn't many people around here. But it flooded California. It actually bankrupted California. It was just becoming a new state. Sacramento was underwater. Valleys were flooded. It was a huge impact to the communities. And so again, being aware that flooding could be an impact on the overall community. The one thing is to be aware of too is as we start to develop, if we don't plan properly, we actually can enhance flooding impacts. We do a lot of area drainage master plans in the upper watershed, and what we found out, if we had done this 50 or 60 years ago, it would have been really good because we could have opened those channels and alluvial fans to keep water from moving down. We go back now and we looked at, we've now blocked off a lot of those channels. And so a lot of the projects in Douglas, Carson, and even Lyon County, we start looking at alluvial fan flooding. The fix costs more than the damage. And so now it's like, okay, what do you do with that? So how do you open and keep these flow paths open or to try to alleviate? So what they're doing in Lyon County now is that they realize they have a problem, but they don't want to make it worse. And so they use a lot of the modeling efforts and the guidelines in here to say, okay, if we get new development, how can we do it to ensure that we don't cause more problems in the future? This is some of this area. This is in Alpine County, the West Fork going through Hope Valley. You can just see what the river wants to do, how it moves and goes through, keeping these open plains. It recharges the aquifer and also gives you late summer flows. So the idea is to provide a regional approach for management, looking at not just your own little area, but the overall watershed. Protect floodplains from development where possible. And again, these are just suggestions, but sometimes, again, if you can look at that, pre-plan ahead of times, you'll avoid problems in the future and avoid the damages on a water-wide scale. And it's really kind of this living river approach, kind of water quality enhancement. All these things come together as we start looking at dealing with flooding in our watershed. So, beautiful areas. There's places you can be. But this was the main message. This is the Carson River Coalition came through and really looking at protecting the floodplain from future development. How can we work with the communities, working with farmers, because we realize farming next to the river is really a good thing, because when a farm floods, yes, it causes damage to them, but we can go in and help those farmers move forward. But it's far cheaper than what they did in Reno when you had to fix with hotels and everything else under there. And also groundwater recharge and buffering and a great wildlife. So these are things that the main message was, and this is what the group years ago came up with. So what does this plan do? There are flood hazard mitigation strategies. There are 8 of them in the report, and in those there are over 49 suggested actions. And this is really just, again, to give you ideas of what you may want to consider in your development and being prepared. The changes to this plan, this update, was really looking at stormwater impacts. We realized we hadn't had a lot of that. We mentioned it somewhat, but we really decided to beef up that section of the report. So again, as we move forward, flash floods, alluvial fan flooding, just making it people aware that there are flooding in this area and trying to pre-plan this car. If he'd realized that water was that deep, maybe he wouldn't have gotten stuck at that time. This is kind of an interesting picture. This is taken at the Fandango movie theater. If you've been up there, these people went in to watch a movie. It was clear day. We had a huge storm that just basically dropped within a half an hour, and this just dumped all the sediment, and this is what they came out to find their car buried in sediment at the end of the movie. So a real surprise, but it didn't take long, and that's just something we want to be aware of. Really, there's not much you can do to mitigate this. When Mother Nature dumps on you, it happens. That's the same thing in Texas. When those floods came through, I mean, you could avoid some of those things. Maybe some of those houses or in the camp had been moved further up the hill, they would not have had the damage. But a lot of these things you just don't realize until they hit. And so we're always going to have to deal with this, but if we can minimize the impact as much as possible, that is the goal. And I want to thank your county staff for the assistance. There was several workshops. We met with the county staff, went up and down the watershed. Debbie Nedenrip was the main leader on this plan, and really kind of put this update of really looking at what is needed to assist the communities. So with that, this one here is interesting. This is up in Alpine County. Caltrans was doing some work on a bridge, and so they put all the material up above so it wouldn't get flooded from the river. And there was a thunderstorm that came down Melbury Creek, flooded through Markleyville, and dumped all this debris and basically inundated all their supplies at that time. Who would have planned for it? Who knows? It actually washed out the road on Highway 98, and it took them 6 weeks to replace it so the community could get back to Douglas County. So again, just something to be aware of. So the goal of this is we're asking you to consider adoption, and as you move forward, as more of a reference material. So in the future, as you move forward, you consider it. There will be a few changes. We found a few typos in this that we'll be doing. One is open space for Carson City, and then someone didn't like some of the pictures that we showed that seemed to indicate that they weren't planning ahead. We'll modify those pictures too. But so this is kind of the overall goal, and at this point, I'll open for any questions.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Okay, a motion, or any public comment? A motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to readopt the Carson River Floodplain Management Plan with a 2025 update.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
7D, consideration and possible action approval to purchase a new fingerprint palm print machine from Edema at the cost of $19,070, as well as a maintenance agreement at an additional cost of $3,383 for a total cost of $22,453 for the Churchill County Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Hickox, floor is yours.
Hello, Richard Hickox for the record. I'm Churchill County Sheriff. Thanks for having me here, commissioners and staff. We are tasked by NRS to do certain things, such as register ex-felons, register sex offenders, provide for CCWs. We also are required through CJIS to make sure that our people, certain county staff, are fingerprinted and ran through a system. We are also required to do that for to help out with other things. And so we do fingerprints for the school district, nursing, and a variety of other people within daycare within the community. And so we have a fingerprint machine that is up front. It's in the front of the building, and that's the machine that we utilize for that, to capture the fingerprints and then to send them off to the state. Earlier this year, just a short time ago, we had a malfunction with that machine, and so we called in the technician to come and fix it. When he did that, he told us that the machine needed upgraded and needed an update. So we called IDEMIA. IDEMIA said the machine cannot be updated. It's the Windows 10 version and needs to be updated, and they can't update it. And so we asked them about purchasing components to upgrade it without having to purchase the whole thing, and we can't do that. And so what we're asking is that the county help us out, and they give us the $22,453 that we're asking for. The $19,000 is to purchase the machine, and then the $3,000 is to purchase the service agreement, because the machine is used a lot, and we don't want to have to pay a lot of repair bills. So that's kind of there. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
Did that company tell you how long this new computer should last, the lifespan?
Our last one has lasted for quite a while, and so we're hoping that it's going to last for about 5 years, which is the typical life of a computer. But I can't tell that. We have to have this in place if we do this by October, because that's when CGIS will no longer certify us.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the maintenance agreement, is that an annual renewal, or is it a one-time charge? Do you know?
It's for 3 years, and so I think at the end of that 3 years, we'll probably have to renew it if possible. But we can ask that question and get back to you guys. I don't know on that. I just assumed since it was for a 3-year agreement that it would be for 3 years, but that's my assumption, and I apologize for not getting that information.
Any other questions or comments or concerns? Is there any public comment? If none, I'll entertain a motion. Or if you have something else to
Well,
add.
I was just making sure we have this motion correct for the maintenance agreement, so I assume you would just put it in your budget once you figure that out. In the year 4, you would just make sure that was in your budget to cover.
Absolutely. Once we figure out if there's a maintenance agreement that's yearly, we'll put that in our contract budget, and then you guys will be hearing from us again on that in January.
During the budget. And then if this lasts 5 years, then I assume that you'll start planning that accordingly to get it into your budget, maybe?
Absolutely. We had some ideas that some of our stuff was going to be coming up to end of life, and that was part of the reason we had some of that money that we had requested in the budget for computers and printers. We no longer have that due to some changes that were made.
Okay. All right, thank you. You ready?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion to approve the purchase of a new fingerprint palm print machine from IDEMA at a cost of $19,070, as well as a maintenance agreement and an additional cost of $3,383 for a total cost of $22,453.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, guys.
7E, consideration possible action, approval of an interlocal contract between Churchill County and the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Nevada Division of Forestry for wildlife protection in the amount of $29,876 for a 2-year period. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Sanford for the record. This is a continuation of a longstanding agreement we've had with the Forestry Department. They assist us in wildfire protection services in the event that we have a call out and need assistance. The essential terms of the agreement are that we're covered for the first 24 hours in which we request assistance. If we need assistance beyond 24 hours, it ends up having a cost to us, but that was already going to be a cost we were going to bear. And so the cost for this agreement is essentially identical to what it has been before, and the terms are updated for the last couple of years, but to the same effect.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions or comments from board or staff?
Question, is, when you say the first 24 hours, is that the first 24 hours every time we call them?
For each incident, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I did have one question, Joe. I had a phone call about this exact agreement. Did they modify this to be where it was mandatory attendance for those meetings?
It is requested attendance, but our fire department does plan to go and attend these meetings that they have not attended before, so that they are more informed about this
But it's
service.
it's requested, not mandatory.
It is requested, not
Okay,
mandatory.
thank you.
But we're going to be at the table, for sure.
Yeah, just when I had that phone call, my concern was that they were trying to alter it to be mandatory. I didn't like mandatory because sometimes these are in Vegas, they are elsewhere, and we have a volunteer, as you know, volunteer fire department. If we can't make it, then we can't make it. So I didn't want us to be excluded or, be in violation of a contract if we couldn't make it to one meeting, but that's been addressed. Okay. Any public comment? Okay, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the interlocal contract of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, the Nevada Division of Forestry as presented.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Did you want to pull any of the letters received?
I reviewed them and I do not.
Okay, we'll jump to old business. 9A, consideration of possible action. Approval of an agreement for a purchase of a conservation restrictive use easement with Toby Joe Scoggins on APN 009-131-03 and APN 009-131-06, totaling 230 acres with 86.0 acres of water rights. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Randy Hines, Public Works Planning and Building. There's two appraisals done to establish the value of this conservation easement. The first appraisal is the as-is condition, and that value came in at $990,000. The second appraisal is to apply the conservation easement to the parcels. This one has two options. The first option is the conservation easement with the existing home site only, and that came in at $695,000. The second appraisal was the existing home site plus one future home site, and that came in at $740,000. The applicant chose option 2, making that conservation easement price $250,000. The Navy's portion of that is $187,500, and the county's portion is $62,500.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Any questions or comments? Is there any public comment? A motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the purchase of a conservation easement and 201 transferable development rights from the approved sending site, assessor's parcel number 009-131-03 and 009-131-06.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Randy. New business, 10A, consideration of possible action, approval of an interlocal contract number 2025-13 with the Carson Water Subconservancy District for continuation of the Dixie Valley Water Level Measurement and Precipitation Gauge Monitoring Program in the sum of $26,000 in fiscal year 2025-2026 and $27,000 in fiscal year 2026-2027 and $28,000 in fiscal year 2027-2028. Alexa?
Alexa Robinson, County Manager's Office for the record. Well, luckily I had CWSD here, so they did half my job for me. The amounts listed on there are for the program. Those are going to be contributed by the Carson Water Subconservancy. The actual cost to the county is $10,000 each year, so $30,000 over a 3-year period. And what they do is they monitor, as you can see, they monitor precipitation, they monitor groundwater levels in the watershed. I think they monitor stream flow and things like that. So for flooding purposes and water management in a farming community is pretty important. So they too try and do future predictions and based on the data they collect. So I would recommend. I think they're very useful information for us to have in our community for our wells and our farming community. And if you got any questions, I can try and answer them. But I feel like he said a lot.
Thank you, Alexa. Any questions or comments from board or staff? Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the interlocal contract number 2025-13 with the Carson Water Subconservancy, I can't even say that word, District to assist with the continuation of the Dixie Valley Water Level Measurement and Precipitation Gauge Monitoring Program.
I'll second that, and just so you know, we're trying to change the name, so it's not as difficult as that. Yeah, so you can remember it easier. I seconded it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Alexa. 10B, consideration of possible action, approval of the Churchill County Debt Management Policy for fiscal year 2025-2026. Sherry?
Thank you. I have a PowerPoint, if you could pull that up, or it's a PDF, please. While she's pulling that up, this comes before the board every year. It's required to be sent to taxation, updated debt management policy, just to review our debt. And if we could go to the second page, please. There we go. We do not have any additional debt that was pulled out since the last time that we brought this policy before you. We have the gel construction loan, which is through the USDA. There was 2 bonds that were issued, which totaled to about $12.5 million as of 6/30/2025. And then we have the Civic Center, which is the 3C loan, which was taken out at $9 million for 20 years, and that has a balance of $7.5 million as of the end of our fiscal year. And then we also have the loan that was taken out on the well, which was also through the USDA, and that has a balance of about $530,000. And then there's the CCCOM loans that were taken out. These are all revenue bonds. They're really bonds, they're not really loans, but they're kind of the same thing. It's just governmental. Anyway, and our total is $33,362,742. And here's a breakdown of what the payments cost us per year. You can see the 25 and the 26 numbers there, and our total obligation is for fiscal year 26 is $2,363,690,000. And these are secured by our quarter-cent sales tax, infrastructure sales tax, 15% of our federal pelt, and 15% of our geothermal rents. And CCCOM is supported by the user's fees as well. These are not general obligation debt. General obligation bonds would require that all our assets be would secure the debt. These are only secured by those revenue sources. And there's more policy in there. There's pages and pages of it which show us the amortization schedules and all the information that is required by taxation. These will go before the debt management committee if you choose to approve these, and then it'll be sent to the Department of Taxation. Let me know if you have any questions, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Any questions or comments from board or staff? No. Is there any public comment? If none, a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Churchill County's debt management policy for fiscal year 2025, 2026, and to provide copies to the Department of Taxation and the local debt management commission as required by statutes.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Did anyone want to pull anything off the consent agenda? If not, a motion to approve that, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there anything anyone wants to consider for a future agenda item?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll move to Commissioner and Management Staff reports. The only thing I had was an RTC meeting, and with that, I'll pass it to you, Commissioner Blakey.
I had a fire board meeting, and it appears Fire Marshal Dolan is getting settled in and getting ready to get to work. And a Stillwater Conservation meeting, and there was an update from the federal government on the equipment loans out there, and it doesn't look too good. So other than that, that's about it.
Okay, Sherry?
I have nothing, thank you.
Joe?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Chris?
Nothing this time.
Linda?
Just been very busy with property taxes.
Pam? DA Mallory? You like it? Sheriff Hickox?
Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you guys. We have a couple of things going on. We had a failure within the detention center with some of the locks, and so they were just automatically pop, opening the door. And so we called the company in to fix it. They came in several days. We have a maintenance agreement with that company. They came in several days to try and fix it, and then they ultimately told us that the system was aging and that we would need to replace the system ultimately. We are working with them to try and find out if they can help us just get the pieces that we need right now and then come forward with a budget report later. but we're still working on that to try and get a quote for to fix the doors. While they were working on that, they went to go back into the video system so that they could take a look at that to find out when the doors actually, see if there was any evidence as to when the doors started doing that. And they found that there had been a catastrophic failure in our server. And so we have some issues with our jail camera recording system. And so they're working on getting us a quote for that. And I spoke with Joe about that because it does create some concerns. So that's where we're at. I'll bring that information forward, and as soon as I get it, I will let you guys know. I'll also probably send it through Pam if it's not at a commission so that there's no delay in getting that to you guys. But that's what we're looking at. It is a proprietary system, so it's not like I can just go out and buy another computer. It's not like I can just have somebody else step in and reprogram some stuff. It's a proprietary system, which means that the entire jail runs off of that system. And I guess that's good and that's bad, but it is what we're facing, and so I will be coming forward with that information for you guys. That's about it. We're having the sheriffs and chiefs today. We had part of our meeting today. We'll have the rest of it tomorrow. We had some good training, and so any questions for me?
Any questions for the sheriff? Okay, thank you for your time. Denise?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to our, 15. This is our last time for public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.